Welcome to Appian World 26. We are streaming live right here in Orlando. I'm Allison Cossack, joined alongside by Dave Vellante, and we are in sort of an exclusive moment. The conference here not yet quite open. It's kind of the pregame.
I like to call it the CUBE after dark. You know,
I like that.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty accurate.
yeah, right.
Well, we've got some great guests to join in right now on theCUBE. We've got Matt Calkins, he's the founder and CEO of Appian. Welcome to theCUBE. And Cullen, the CEO of CIBC Mellon. Welcome to theCUBE as well. So I'm going to start kind of with the basics before we kind of dive into the strategy. Matt, how long has Appian been working with CIBC Mellon?
Yeah, we got together in 2021 when we happened to have a joining booth set at CIBC. We had a discussion, realized we could work really well together, and so now we've been working for 6 years.
Yeah.
5, 6.
Mal, it's never been a more interesting time in tech. I think I've seen every tech wave from mainframes and PCs, et cetera, but I've never seen an environment where the customer actually can I think add more value than the technology industry. You're a CEO who's leaning into modernization and technology. What are your thoughts on sort of where we are? Your thoughts on how you apply technology to your company? Maybe some of the business drivers that are changing things for CIBC.
Yeah, so we're a joint venture, and Bank of New York owns half the business, and CIBC owns the other half. And that partnership came together 30 years ago, so not many joint ventures will live that long. But we've got sort of a secret sauce there where BNY provides the technology, the scale, the platforms, and CIBC has all the great client relationships across the country that we leverage as well. What we decided though was that in order to be great at what we do, which is an asset servicing organization, is that we actually had to be a technology leader as well. And so that was the mission that I set forth when I joined here about 3.5 years ago. I said, not only do we want to be the #1 asset servicer in Canada, we also have to become a technology leader as well.
So what role does Appian play in this ecosystem between this, in this partnership? I mean, you're basically safeguarding more than $3.4 trillion.
Yeah, so because of the way that we're structured as a joint venture, we leverage CIBC and BNY's technology. But in order for us to have the agility to respond to our changing client needs in terms of what they need from us, we needed to take more agency over our own data, over our own technology. And Appian's data fabric allows us to connect systems together such that we can now improve them for our clients and create a better experience without having to go back to either BNY or CIBC for changes, which would be very difficult to do just given the scale of the platforms that they run globally across the world.
So the data fabric allows you to get access to any data, irrespective of where it is physically, whether it's in the cloud, on-prem, doesn't matter which hyperscaler it's in. So that's kind of an interesting technology component. Matt, you are a software company. And remember Andreessen said that software's eating the world. People say every company is becoming a software company. That actually never happened, but it's happening now. And I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yeah, and first of all, I just want to say I love what Mal said, because it is our intention as a software company to be an empowering force for our customers. And the fact that he's able to achieve agility and to build systems more rapidly than he would have if he depended on the corporate parents, and that he can build something that he can trust in our technology, this is a fulfillment of our intention. So I love what he said, just wanted to make note of that. As for the effect right now that software is having, I believe that now is a unique moment where the partnership between software and AI and an enlightened customer can do extraordinary things. But you need all three. You need a smart guide, you need a customer, as you said, the customer's creating a lot of value today because they're able to shape the way these technological concepts come together. And so they could be very wise and productive, or they can be scattershot and less productive. But this is a great moment when there's so much power in the hands of a software vendor and a customer and a client put together that we can do incredible things.
So how do you think about that, Mel? I mean, we've now got this, we would program systems and they would do what we told them to do, and now they're generating ideas, and we're tapping into intelligence in the form of tokens, right? I was joking the other day, I said, here's your laptop, here's your token budget, and that's kind of what the world is becoming. How do you, as a CEO, think about that?
So AI, for us, is early in its journey. I mean, financial services has always been late to the game for emerging technologies. Just think about how long it took Wall Street to go to cloud, right? A lot of firms never thought they'd even get there, but they did. But the risk appetite that we have to live with the regulators, and think of the exposure I could create to either BNY or CIBC if we had an ungoverned or an irresponsible AI deployment is very, very high. So we have to take it very, very carefully. And what I say to people is that we can't go any faster than the comfort level of our clients. Every week now we're getting inquiries from our clients to ask us to provide evidence of what we're doing with AI, how are we using AI, where it's embedded within the the organization across all the platforms. And actually one of the only places we're actually using it in a production mode is with Appian right now. The reason for that is because they have a very controlled governance model where I can provide transparency to how it's being used, I can audit that, I can have documentation, and it's not impacting the client yet, it's being delivered for an internal purpose. So for us, that's a really good starting point on an internal perspective until the industry gets to the point where we believe we can start to deliver services through that to our clients, but we're not there yet.
Move fast and don't break things.
Exactly, that's right. I like to joke that what we do is called East Coast AI, right? We don't move fast and break things. Instead, we keep it extremely safe, and we fit within that risk profile that Mal's talking about, that he's got to stay within. AI shouldn't be risky. A lot of people are doing crazy things with it, but our approach, we got to serve the government. We work in all 15 agencies of the US government. We serve customers who have to be mindful of their reputation and regulations, and we can't take the same approach to AI. We use it constantly. Most of our customers, the vast majority, are using AI on the Appian platform, but we can't use it recklessly. We have to serve a different degree of safety because our customers demand it, and so our approach is very deliberate and cautious and proven and validated before we can deploy AI.
Talk us through how you are being cautious. Can you give a couple of use cases?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say, for example, you're taking a legacy application and you're moving it to a new platform, to the Appian platform using AI. AI is a terrific way to convert an application from an old platform to a new platform, so that's great. However, AI is also not entirely reliable. It's probabilistic technology, and it could make the occasional mistake if you just put the whole job into AI's hands. Instead, you've got to be really careful, and this is where we come in. We ask AI to first tell the user exactly what it is it's going to create. Every rule, every interface, every data table, every last thing, and lay it all out in a neat format for auditing before you build the application. So you kind of get all ready and then you pause and you say, are you sure this is correct? Look through everything, and if you're satisfied, then AI will write it for you. And once it's written it, you can come back and iterate and go through that step again and look at it again and create it again. But the last thing we want to do is use AI to fire and forget and just see what happens with the application. Our customers would never put up with that. We've got to be exceptionally cautious and validated before we let AI loose on either the creation of an application or the production of any decision or anything a customer could see.
So you're bringing the deterministic world and the probabilistic worlds together in a way that can be trusted. I'm interested in...
That's right on.
So you've got to innovate, you got to move fast, but you can't break things. Two-part question. One is, how do you make sure that you're not just paving the cow path, automating a process that maybe should be changed, and how do you manage shadow AI?
Yeah, so for us, I think if you go back 4 or 5 years, a lot of firms like us had put RPA in.
Right.
Automate a task, and they would count how many keystrokes they saved and multiply that by X number of people over X number of days, and that was the ROI for the project, right? For us, we were being very different about it because that just put a Band-Aid on the problem. It didn't actually solve the root cause of why you've got a manual process. And in our industry, scale is everything. So anything that's bespoke for a particular client or it's manual creates risk. So we're trying to get all of that out of our operations. And for us, being able to take the Appian platform and find ways that we can actually create efficiencies across handoffs between teams and being able to deliver things into our clients differently. I mean, those are a re-engineering of the way that we work. It's not an automation of how we used to work. So we're thinking about this differently in terms of let's redesign the process. And the best way we do that is having the people on the ground that are actually doing the work. They're the ones that are actually making those decisions, not people in the boardroom.
Is AI helping you do that?
AI is giving us accelerators when we have to design the new process. It's helping our teams figure out how to do that, and then they can build the tool and they can put it into production.
And of course, I mean, Matt, your last quarter, it was interesting to note the professional services side of your business, which I think is really interesting. I think this is what a lot of people are missing. The ability to have expertise to go in and help companies like Mal's to implement AI and agentic, because those forward deployed engineers are few and far between who actually know how to do that.
Yeah, but we specialize in it. We see our services team as a catalyst for innovation, and we also have terrific partners who do the same thing, catalyst for innovation. But we see all of the Appian community, the practitioner community, as having that role. Their job is to learn about what it is we can do that the rest of the market can't, and then deploy it safely in order that customers succeed. Also, I love what Mal was just saying, and I wanted to say that the moment that you upgrade an old system, that you modernize an old system, that's a moment of transformation. You wouldn't want to pave a cow path. You would want to create something that was the ideal expression of the purpose of that original application. So today what we're doing with our customers that are modernizing is creating a revolutionary experience, a real change, not just a replatforming. Hitachi took 500 applications and consolidated them down to one. And the US Air Force saved $80 million in their first year after modernizing 7 systems on Appian. So our goal is transformation, not just porting an application from an old platform to a new platform.
But go ahead.
No, please.
I was going to ask Matt that AI is becoming this active participant and not a passive observer. How do you find the balance?
So, as I said, we're quite early in the process. So we have pretty much eliminated any exposure into the client's ecosystem for now, and we're focusing on redesigning our internal processes. So we have guardrails around the process when it's designed that says it can only go so far before a human oversight has to take over and hand off that work. And that's how we do that, is that we make sure that the process is designed such that before we get into the point where it's going to impact a client outcome, there's a human responsible for that. Just like you would today if you brought in a new employee and gave it some work to do, you'd still have somebody supervise that process before it got to impact a client.
We were just on a panel a moment ago, and he told an incredible story about the total cost reporting application that he built on Appian with AI, and maybe you could just say what it is you accomplished with that, because it's really impressive.
Yeah, what I've told them is that internal stuff is great, but my clients don't really care if we modernize our internal processes and become more efficient. Everybody's doing that. The real win for me was to be able to deliver an experience in a digital way out to our clients. And last year, there was a regulatory change in Canada that required the transparency around cost of running a fund, mutual fund, an ETF, where they actually had to provide more transparency in terms of the total cost of that went into that fund. And we had to deliver that in Canada, and back to my earlier point, if I had gone to the platforms, the global BNY platforms, and asked for changes to support a Canadian regulatory cost reporting challenge, the likelihood of getting that done in time would have been low. My team built that on Appian. The clients now have a client-facing application to deliver that. And the real win for us was that we co-created that with clients, and the client experience was developed with Appian, with CIBC Mellon, and our clients together. And the team actually told me they would never have made that date of December 31st, 2025 if we didn't do this on Appian.
We, Alice and I just came back from Google Cloud Next, and it was a Kool-Aid injection of agent, agent, agent. And when you talk to customers, the reality set in. It was, we're taking it slowly, we're being really careful, we need governance. So I wonder if you guys could address this, the reality of agentic. You hear so much hype around it. Where are we? How are you helping clients be safe and implement agents, responsibly?
Yeah, you want to go, or okay. Agents are an incredibly powerful tool, but they have to be used correctly. Agents can't do everything. They may make decisions, but they shouldn't make every decision. Some people come to me and say, well, look, agents can decide the next action, so do you need process at all? Maybe you should just let agents loose. And in my experience, agents actually need process more than any other form of AI. They're the ones that go off the rails the easiest. If you don't have the regulations, the guardrails, the tracking, if you don't have the structure of process, Agents are the first part of AI to wander off the reservation. I think people have to be careful about when to use agents and when not to. You need it when you need adaptive intelligence. You don't need it the rest of the time. In fact, the rest of the time it's strictly disadvantageous because it's more expensive, slower, and less accurate. So you want to use agents just at the right time and not at the other times, which means you need a nuanced both strategy. And they have to be balanced, and you should take extra care that when you deploy agents that you're not allowing them to do unanticipated and off-script actions. So you got to be all the more watchful about what agents are actually doing, because you've increased the possibility for a surprising outcome when you put an agent into the picture.
So presumably you want them to do the mundane, take that off of the human, have the humans do more high value activities, but how are you approaching it, and what role do you see Appian playing?
So I'll give you two examples where we can use them in a very safe, secure way. A lot of reconciliations in our business between system A and system B that we have to do every day. So an AI agent could help the people and identify those reconciliation breaks much, much quicker than humans can. That just accelerates the job that people are doing. Another thing is we do net asset value. We do NAV processing on funds every day. We can find anomaly detection between one fund that looks like another fund and say that there's probably something that went wrong there. And it just creates a tremendous amount of efficiency to get to the root cause of the problem. But again, we're not letting it make a decision on behalf of our business that is going to impact the client yet. So it's just helping our own teams be more efficient in terms of how they can actually deliver the work that they do every day.
So really improving analytical insights, right? And then eventually you'll allow them to take agency. Do you see that in the near or midterm future?
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's just when and how.
Yeah,
how we're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
There are some things that agents can do better than anybody else. If you need adaptive intelligence, if you've got genuine unclarity about the state of work or the job when it arrives at the action moment, you need you need agents to fill out the picture and maybe to adjudicate the right action from amongst a set of possible actions and states that are too great for writing rules about. Agents can get through that better than anything else.
One of our analysts is working with Jeffrey Moore, and when we put together this framework, he said, okay, but show me how I get from point A to point B. And we actually, George Gilbert did the work. There are a lot of steps, and it's an evolution. We're not just going to instantly turn on agents and have them go wild, though they will go rogue. It's going to happen, but it's a journey, right?
Yeah, we believe in taking careful steps. No rogue agents.
What advice would you give to other executives taking the same journey?
Well, take a careful, deliberate, provable steps. Take on something that you know you can succeed at, do it carefully, show momentum, right? Demonstrate that you've succeeded and you've earned the next step, and be just so careful about what AI can do. It's incredibly powerful and incredibly risky if you don't use it correctly. So be sure that you're watching every step and monitoring and giving it a narrow aperture of action. And, you know, it needs constraints. It's a probabilistic technology, and if it's agents, it's got everything at its fingertips. You really need to pair AI with a deterministic framework in order to keep it safe.
And that's exactly what you're doing. And actually, AI is really good when you can tell it, you know, reinforcement learning with the right answer. Yeah. But how do you get the right answer? You get the right answer because you have someone like Appian who actually knows what the right answer looks like. Mm-hmm. And then you can iterate and I guess presumably learn from those reasoning traces.
You know, we've been trying to build the product for years now to be the ideal synergistic partner to AI. AI's got some rough edges and it's got some permanent blind spots. Because it's probabilistic, it will always be unreliable. We've built our process to be the natural companion to the power of AI so that together we can do things and go places that AI could never go alone.
But to be clear, you guys are both excited about AI. You see the massive opportunity, but you just want AI done right, is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
East Coast.
East Coast AI. We're East Coast. It resonates.
All right, Matt, Mel, fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having us today. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you got it. And you're watching theCUBE, the leader in live technology coverage. We'll be right back.
really appreciate the incredible coverage theCUBE provides, not just for this show, but for decades. You guys have been with us and helping to educate and inform our customers in the community and really bringing out the great stories.
It's great to be with you guys. This is a tradition. We've done this a lot of years together.
Thank you for covering Discover for so many years.
The CUBE Collective is a community of dynamic, independent thought leaders, industry experts, and professionals from across the enterprise technology landscape. The CUBE has assembled a diverse group of executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators who collaborate to explore, amplify, and discuss emerging trends, innovations, and challenges shaping the future of technology. The goal of the CUBE Collective is to foster knowledge sharing, spark meaningful conversations, and provide actionable insights based on decades of collective experience and data. Together, these experts analyze the most impactful developments at the cutting edge of the tech industry. Join the CUBE Collective as they analyze the shifts transforming and shaping the future of technology. theCUBE, the leading source for technology news and analysis, with exclusive access to the hottest technology events from around the globe. In-depth interviews with industry giants and innovative startups disrupting the landscape. Tune in live or catch the action on demand at thecube.net for current real-time conversations. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise. theCUBE brings you the latest news and trends from the heart of the Silicon Valley. Our experts provide in-depth analysis, interviews with industry leaders, and breaking enterprise technology news. Don't just listen. Join the conversation. Be part of the community. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise.
theCUBE is one of the most valuable resources in the industry, and I don't say that just from the vendor side. End users say they look at your stuff all the time, and that's what matters most. What do the end users do, and what do the channel partners do who take care of those end users? And they both commented to me multiple times on the value theCUBE delivers to them to really understanding technology, not just in storage, but in all the other areas, because you guys cover the entire gamut.
But this is really about helping people sort of understand, educate them, and inspire them to take action.
Yeah. It takes a village. It's not me, it's a village, and thank you guys for starting to cover it so early.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and hey, congratulations to you, theCUBE, the whole business you put together. It's pretty freaking amazing, man.
Welcome back to Appian World 26. We are streaming live in Orlando. I'm Allison Cossack alongside Dave Vellante, and we are kind of in the pregame. We're watching the conference literally being set up before our eyes.
Yes, and people are starting to stream in. We're seeing the booths being set up, and this place will be hopping in a couple hours.
It will be, and at least until then, let's get it hopping with another interview. We've got Michael Beckley, the founder and CTO of Appian, joining us on theCUBE. Welcome to theCUBE.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, you founded this company. Where did you see the need? Why did you start the company?
Yeah, why did I start the company? I ask myself that, why did I start the company? I actually saw a clear need for people to be able to be creators, not just consumers of technology. And in business, in complex businesses, in government agencies, in big banks, insurance companies, healthcare providers, creating is really hard. There's so much complexity to how you integrate with data, to how you have to consider so many different requirements, and so it's really intimidating. And so what I wanted to do was actually bring the tools of consumer technology to the enterprise and allow people to be inspired to create and provide their feedback and their ideas, because your employees are your best asset. And they have incredible ideas on how to improve a process and optimize the customer experience. And I just thought we could do that.
So, as a CTO, how are you thinking about what's going on these days, where LLMs are coding, you see Elon putting down a bunch of dough for Cursor, which is kind of remarkable and actually kind of smart. If you want to be in that business, you better have a coding agent. But as somebody who writes code and has written code and you're seeing this changes, how do you think about this?
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting. And I also love the irony in that, some people think that AI is so smart it's going to write all the code, and yet we see the AI companies are still writing a lot of code and paying billions of dollars, or tens of billions of dollars even, for code. So there's something else going on here. And what I see is that there's a great mystery about how to make AI useful for more than just prototyping. For how do you actually trust it? How do you make it reliable and repeatable and deterministic so that you can trust it for missions that matter? And building that harness around AI, that's what companies like Appian are doing, and it's really remarkable the value we're able to unlock.
So,
go ahead.
Please.
Just bouncing off what you said, if code creation is becoming this commodity, then where does the value actually move?
Yeah, so the value moves both to the harness, that is, how do you orchestrate different AI agents? How do you ensure that the data they have access to is correct and accurate and is in the right context? And so it's not just the orchestration, it's also the context layer beneath the orchestration that the value moves into. So some people think the harness is just the state machine, the process, the sequencing, but it's far deeper than that. It's actually then how do you have security and governance over the data you share with your AI, and then also make sure that it's accurate, to make sure that it's not hallucinating.
So well, when we moved from on-prem software to SaaS, everything changed. The technology model, the operational model, the pricing model, it's happening again. And so the whole software stack is being reimagined. We're not throwing away all the old pieces. The deterministic pieces are critical, we're realizing, in order to be able to trust agency. But there's this new thing. You mentioned context. There's this sort of intelligence layer that's emerging. LLMs are playing a key part of it. How do you see that evolving, and what role does Appian play in your view?
Yeah, so there's definitely dramatic new opportunities to rethink the traditional software stack from just interface and logic and data. Now we're looking at a reasoning layer and a perception layer. And so the role for Appian is in providing that linkage between all of these pieces. So at that orchestration layer, Appian's known as a process company, where we believe that a business is fundamentally a set of processes, and whether it's an ERP system, what they're doing is they're giving you a bunch of finance processes, or HR, there's a bunch of human resources processes for onboarding, for recruiting, and what Appian does is allow you to connect the right AI and the right data at the right time to solve a problem. But then once you have that reasoning completed, Appian's role is to actually then allow you to accelerate how you automate. So you can now imagine being able to do the same right decision that AI brought you to millions and billions of times and get an outcome that you expect as opposed to being surprised in a bad way. Okay,
so you've got now AI in the mix, and we were talking to Matt earlier, you're bringing together the deterministic and the non-deterministic worlds together. How do you, I mean, your customers, the linchpin of their value is their proprietary data, how they shape that, how they apply that, how they add value on their end. So I'm interested in how you help them do that. I get the orchestration piece, the context, where does that come from? And what role do you guys play there? There's obviously the LLM is playing that role. Is that new invention required? What are you working on that you can share with us?
Yeah, of course. So nearly 10 years ago, we discovered that we had kind of made a mistake. In just building a process engine and a process orchestration layer, we had thought that the data problem that you're talking about, how do you integrate all these different data types? How do you integrate data from inside and outside the enterprise? How do you get supply chain partners to collaborate on data, to optimize production lines? Well, we thought that was going to be solved by other people, and we were just wrong. It didn't happen. What happened was a bunch of companies all decided that they were going to compete to own your data. And the value proposition of the cloud became, give us all your data and we'll take care of you forever. And that didn't quite work out because, of course, you still have all these different cloud providers. And so Appian grew up to then realize we needed something new to weave these things together into a unified model for people to be able to understand, because you have customers and you have products and you have contracts and you have transactions, and they may come from different data sources. So we created the data fabric. And we didn't create it for AI. We created it for systems to be integrated and for people to be integrated as teams in these workflows. And it just so happened that that's the necessary security, governance, and context of the business data that you need, just like a human needs it, an AI agent needs it to understand how to make a decision and to make it accurately and to make it safely. And so the work we've done lately and what we're announcing here at the show is the enhancements to the data fabric to make it work great at massive scale and to make it work great with AI agents.
I want to pick up on the data fabric because it's an interesting part of your architecture and your announcements. When you think about data and departments, every department has their own data. We've got a $50 billion BI industry that was created so that people could have their own dashboards, but that data lives in silos. And essentially, so do the departments. The promise, I think, and I'd love your CTO mindset feedback on that. The promise is that those barriers get, broken down. That there's finally in this industry a single version of the truth, which we've been promising forever, but it's been elusive. Will that become a reality, and what has to happen for that to become a reality?
So it's becoming a reality, and AI is the opportunity and the forcing function, because there's now so much incentive. People see how powerful AI can be, but without the right data, it's useless. You don't get anywhere near the value you'd think. And so people are implementing Appian Data Fabric as a precursor to rolling out AI enterprise-wide, to knock down all those stovepipes and unify them on a shared model and a clear semantic layer of the things you need to get access to in a secure and safe way. And Data Fabric provides a virtual database, so you don't have to migrate the data, and you can leave it where it is if you want to, and still perform these feats of wonderful context summarization and transactions can be executed across many different systems, and now agents can be coordinated even though the data isn't necessarily even all yours.
So just to put a finer point on that, because you said you went back a decade plus ago and said, hey, we got to rethink this thing. Is it your job to do the harmonization of that data? You mentioned semantics. I think of like ontology, you think of what Palantir's doing with a lot of heavy lifting. that is your responsibility, is that correct? That's IP that you, because that's a really high
right.
value piece of real estate in the new software stack.
It is, and it's a fair comparison. I would say Palantir's Ontology is the most similar technology out there in terms of creating a digital twin of your business to what Appian has. The difference being they came from an analytic perspective, like the business intelligence market that I came from myself long before I started Appian. And with Appian, we started with the premise of, well, you actually need to execute transactions. It's not enough to know, you have to be able to do. And so we put a lot of our intellectual property into the data integrity and being able to write and roll back if something fails and be able to always have a clear audit trail and yet also to not assume that you can migrate all that data into one place. The data fabric is so different from any normal ontology because it works as well with remote data as it does local data.
So the light bulb just went off. I know, Allison, I'm like dominating here, but when you said, Michael, a digital twin of the business, that to me is the North Star of any organization. Rather than speaking in strings that databases understand, I want to have a 4D map of my enterprise, people, places, things, and activities, or processes, in your case, so that in real time I can see the state of my business. You mentioned State Machine before, but then I want to be able to have agents act on that in a trusted way. Now there's a journey that's going to take, I think, the better part of a decade to actually evolve, but is that the right, am I getting it right? That to us is the North Star of what enterprises want.
You're getting it exactly right. As you said, where's the value moving? Because writing code is easy. The value's in making effective business processes that you are so good that you can actually not just optimize your own business, but you can turn them into digital self-service experiences for customers and even sell that process to your peers and competitors. A lot of the customers here at Appian at the show are talking about their journey to do just that. They are mapping out their data, they're integrating their view of their customers and their products, and then they're creating new digital products that are so good at, say, custodial services like you just heard from CIBC Mellon, that they can then sell that as a process to other banks and other investors.
If we fast forward a couple of years, what really defines successful enterprise AI architecture? What would the winners be getting right?
Yeah, so what they get right is that it is both orchestration and context. And so it's very important that you're able to map out a process end to end and measure it and monitor it to always know you're getting the results you expect, especially at AI velocity. It's very hard for humans to keep up, and so mapping it out in a process that is giving you the real-time telemetry is very important to knowing that your processes are on track and you're hitting your KPIs and your SLAs. And then the second part is that actual context layer, that context graph of the data and relationships inside and outside the business. And if you get that right, then you can work with third-party agents, you can work with agents in Appian, for example, and coordinate them very safely. There's another layer of context as well, which is as you're modernizing all of your applications to keep up, to work with this new business layer and to interact with these new orchestrations, well, you need to be aware of those application objects, the workflows, the interfaces, the actual logic and the business rules. Those are many, many different objects that have layers of dependencies, and that's its own context graph. And so being able to couple those three things together, that will be the hallmark of a business 2 years from now that is actually leading the AI revolution.
Okay, so you're developing what we sometimes call the system of intelligence, this cognitive layer. You've also got the orchestration layer. Sometimes we call it the agent control framework. That's sort of a geeky term. And what you just said is that you're able to interact with, ingest, I don't know, communicate with the metadata and application logic and process knowledge that lives in other applications. It might be Salesforce, it might be ServiceNow, et cetera. You saw the headless stuff that's been coming out. People are taking different approaches. We saw, I don't know, a year ago now, Nadella trolling Benioff saying, it was ironic, right? He said the future of SaaS is agents talking to a CRUD database. Isn't that ironic that everything that he has in his personal productivity software is in a file format that's open now, but the world is changing. You're playing into all that with basically it sounds like you're evolving your architecture for the future of that digital twin of an enterprise.
Well, and it's not just us. There is clearly some convergent evolution happening in the market right now. Everyone has figured out that the scaffolding is getting commoditized. You know, that Anthropic leak a month ago, we saw their scaffolding, everyone saw how they're doing it, and that's driving even more rapidly everyone to add scaffolding, like Nadella was talking about. He's saying that the value is in, beyond the AI model, it's in how you connect it and control it. And then he wants to directly connect it to, you know, other people's systems of record. But the important thing is, it's not just one change. It's actually the combination of things. In the same way the iPhone, you know, Apple didn't invent the mobile phone. They didn't invent the touch screen. They didn't invent, you know, the web browser. They didn't invent even, you know, maybe they sort of invented multi-touch, but, you know, you get a critical mass of innovations together, and suddenly we have this breakthrough where we can trust AI to do multi-step, long-running processes for, you know, for banking, for insurance, for healthcare, because we've now got the process orchestration, the data context, and the application context in a way that humans can manage and understand and control.
And you don't have to own, per se, the transaction substrate. You can just interact with it. You don't have to be Oracle.
No.
Fine, Oracle's going to do their thing. You just have to be able to plug in and out of it.
Yeah, Appian is that mortar that connects your enterprise bricks. You know, we are not trying to replace all those systems of record. It's way too expensive and difficult to do rip and replace. That's the genius of the data fabric, is it allows you to leverage what you have and then orchestrate it with our process engine.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much is orchestration effectively becoming the new operating system?
I think that's a great analogy. Maybe we should use it more, yes.
And you don't have to move the data with data fabric. That's the genius of it.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so that's a few $100 million in R&D. So we optimize our awareness of how that data is stored, what it is, we index it, we understand the shape of the data. We also have some really exotic technology for how we can optimize those queries and anticipate them as well. We're monitoring how you use the data fabric, so we can anticipate your data access patterns, your query patterns, and optimize them ahead of you. And so all of that's a critical part, but there's also the data governance layer. How do you secure it by row and by column and by role and by attribute? And we build a data catalog with the lineage. So it's not enough to show people why they're making a decision. You have to show them the data that you're trusting to make that decision and where it comes from.
And your data catalog will sit above, I mean, I think of something like, you know, down low in the stack, like a Polaris or a Snowflake Horizon. You're up above that, and you can interact with those in a read-write fashion, is that right?
Exactly, read-write. There's been, people attempted data fabrics before, but they really were more analytic only, and the writing took a lot of custom code. We're natively read-write, and we're announcing here at the conference our new partnership with Snowflake to make it all the more optimized to access, you know, Snowflake Cortex AI directly from the Appian data fabric and Appian processes.
Oh, we're going to be at the Snowflake Summit. We've done, I think, many of the Snowflake Summits, so hopefully see you there.
Yes.
It's interesting to see their expanding ecosystem, which they have to do because, you know, they changed the world of analytics, and now the world changed again, and so they've got to really expand their ecosystem with partners like you guys.
Yeah, we're really excited. There's a lot of overlap between our customers. People have been asking for this for a long time, and it really extends the reach of Appian into really an infinite landscape of new data.
What are your thoughts on the state of frontier models? What's your relationship with the LLM vendors? You know, when Gen AI first came out, John Furrier and I published the power law of Gen AI, and I look back, it's kind of trivial now. We had, you'll have all these small, specialized models, and of course that happened, but the frontier models are so functional, and they're getting so good, and so they're kind of grabbing more of the value. How do you think about that? What's your relationship with those? They change the benchmark change. Elon's making chess moves. How do you think about it as a CTO?
Yeah. Well, we partner with all of them, but part of our value is in protecting our users from having to guess right.
Yeah.
You know, if you had to pick the right car company in 1910, you'd be in trouble. You know, 100 car companies and, you know, how many survive? And the same is true with these frontier models. Even though right now, you know, you might think even month to month or day to day, it changes the lead between Anthropic or OpenAI or DeepSeek. Just today, there was a headline that Jensen is saying he's going to spend, what, $26 or $27 billion to build his own competitive models. So really, using Appian means that you always have model choice, and we're able to absorb those changes in what capabilities you're able to deliver without you being set back. So for example, you saw the Anthropic controversy in the federal government. Appian customers are able to take advantage of switching out to different models without impacting their mission. Because Appian, when you're building on Appian, that process just keeps working. It's our responsibility to make sure that underneath the covers, it's still being prompted in an optimal way and that the model's giving you the best answers.
So, with so much changing, you got to pick your spots in terms of where you add value, and you got to make sure that you don't add value in a place that, you know, like you say, an LLM vendor is not just going to come along. And so, how do you think about that? How would you describe to our audience sort of Appian's unique value, that sort of area where you are going to be the best at, your kind of home court, if you will?
Yeah. So, we're not some software startup where we can only do one thing. In fact, our value is really as an integrator to solve the hard problem of how do you make AI useful in a process, in a mission that matters. And so it is, you know, it would be easy to say Appian's a process company, our process orchestration layer will always be the best. We have Process HQ that gives you real-time insights in a way that's very hard to replicate. And we have this incredibly powerful process engine which can handle all different types of workflows, and it can do it with very, very low latency in milliseconds. That, you know, it's very difficult for an LLM to match, because when an AI agent reasons, it takes a second or more to make the next decision by design. And the more it reasons, the better decision it can make, but you don't always want that. In fact, you know, tokens are expensive, and they may become exponentially more expensive someday when investors stop subsidizing the AI boom. And so you want to have the right mix of intelligence and determinism. And so yes, Appian's AI orchestration layer is great, but we also have this context layer, and that's a deeper layer of value that I see as enduring, because it's very difficult to replicate.
Interesting about your comment about, well, you mentioned Jensen, and he wants to be on the frontier of everything, but your point about tokens, they are expensive. I'm hopeful that they keep, the cost per token keeps dropping like a rock, because that's where innovation is going to explode, like it did with Moore's Law. If I'm wrong about that, it probably creates new opportunities, but
yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
I don't want to see token prices, you know, go up, but the fact is, building on an Appian or Appian-like solution means you have a lot of levers to pull to optimize your token usage and decide when you want more LLM review, a second reviewer, if you will, on a process to make sure that you don't even need to have humans looking at things. You can get more straight-through processing. But if tokens are too expensive, well, then we can insert a human reviewer.
Right.
And you can dial back on things. And being able to find that best process with AI discovery, burn a lot of tokens doing it, and then reliably run it without any tokens at all through Appian's orchestration engine.
Well, one would hope with all this CapEx that the AI factory is going to, you know, keep getting more economical.
Yeah, we can hope.
Yeah.
What are the conversations you're looking forward to having at the conference?
So, there are so many customers here who have been delivering so much real value with AI, and that is what I'm excited to see. You know, customers who are actually, you know, showing real patterns for how do you go about introducing AI in a process, where is the right way to introduce digital workers into a long-running interaction between suppliers and shippers. And in financial services and insurance, we're seeing such creativity and how people are looking at introducing AI into their customer experiences. You know, that to me is the real excitement. And again, also, this is the biggest concentration of Appian developers we get all year. And they are so excited and so looking forward to, you know, sharing their thoughts about how they're using the new composer tools to actually use the power of these LLMs we're talking about, but to generate safe, modern applications in Appian. There's just so much creativity that's unlocking. I'm really excited to see it.
Well, looking forward to seeing you guys at Moscone at the Snowflake Summit in June. Love to have you back. Yeah. It was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I look forward to it.
Thanks so much for your time.
No, thank you.
And you're watching theCUBE, the leader in live technology coverage. We'll be right back.
Really appreciate the incredible coverage theCUBE provides, not just for this show, but for decades. You guys have been with us and helping to educate and inform our customers and the community and really bringing out the great stories.
It's great to be with you guys. This is a tradition. We've done this a lot of years together.
Thank you for covering Discover for so many years.
The CUBE Collective is a community of dynamic, independent thought leaders, industry experts, and professionals from across the enterprise technology landscape. The CUBE has assembled a diverse group of executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators who collaborate to explore, amplify, and discuss emerging trends, innovations, and challenges shaping the future of technology. The goal of the CUBE Collective is to foster knowledge sharing, spark meaningful conversations, and provide actionable insights based on decades of collective experience and data. Together, these experts analyze the most impactful developments at the cutting edge of the tech industry. Join the CUBE Collective as they analyze the shifts transforming and shaping the future of technology. theCUBE, the leading source for technology news and analysis, with exclusive access to the hottest technology events from around the globe. in-depth interviews with industry giants and innovative startups disrupting the landscape. Tune in live or catch the action on demand at thecube.net for current real-time conversations. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise. theCUBE brings you the latest news and trends from the heart of the Silicon Valley. Our experts provide in-depth analysis, interviews with industry leaders, and breaking enterprise technology news. Don't just listen. Join the conversation. Be part of the community. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise.
theCUBE is one of the most valuable resources in the industry, and I don't say that just from the vendor side. End users say they look at your stuff all the time, and that's what matters most. What do the end users do, and what do the channel partners do who take care of those end users? And they both commented to me multiple times on the value theCUBE delivers to them to really understanding technology, not just in storage, but in all the other areas, because you guys cover the entire gamut.
But this is really about helping people sort of understand, educate them, and inspire them to take action.
Yeah. Takes a village. It's not me. It's a village, and thank you guys for starting to cover it so early.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and hey, congratulations to you, theCUBE, the whole business you put together. It's pretty freaking amazing, man.
theCUBE brings you the latest news and trends from the heart of the Silicon Valley. Our experts provide in-depth analysis, interviews with industry leaders, and breaking enterprise technology news. Don't just listen. Join the conversation. Be part of the community. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise. From the biggest stories to the most complex analysis, theCUBE has got you covered. With well over a decade in the fast-paced world of enterprise technology, theCUBE is the only destination that caters to business leaders and tech enthusiasts alike. Join hosts Dave Vellante, John Furrier, and many others as they interview industry leaders and visionaries to get an insider's perspective on the latest trends and groundbreaking developments shaping the tech landscape. theCUBE offers comprehensive coverage on a myriad of topics, including artificial intelligence, cloud computing, cybersecurity, data analytics, and so much more. With a community of over 17,000 experts, you're bound to learn a thing or two from our extended coverage at live events or in our studios. Dive deep into thousands of interviews and even go back to past interviews to see how the industry has changed. Or hop on over to SiliconANGLE Media, where our dedicated team of writers work to bring daily articles to over 4 million unique readers each quarter. Go beyond surface-level coverage and unearth critical insights and strategies that fuel success in today's dynamic tech environment. Whether you're an executive looking to learn more about a product, a tech enthusiast hungry for knowledge, or an entrepreneur searching for inspiration, theCUBE is the premier destination for you. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be part of the conversation shaping the future of technology. Tune in to theCUBE and SiliconANGLE Media and join the thought leaders at the forefront of innovation in the world of business and technology. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise.
Welcome to Appian World 26. We are streaming live here in Orlando. I'm Allison Cossack alongside Dave Vellante, and things are really hopping now. It is loud in here. I think everybody's eating and mingling and having a great time.
Yeah, for the folks who joined us in our kickoff, it was much quieter.
It was.
And we told you it was going to get booming, and it is, it's bouncing.
And we're going to continue our interviews over the noise and fun that's happening here. I want to bring in our guests that are sitting here at theCUBE. We've got Jamie Turner, the founder and president of Acclaim Autism. Welcome to theCUBE. And we've got Medhat Galal, the senior vice president of engineering at Appian. Welcome to theCUBE as well. Jamie, I'm going to start with you. I'm curious about how you got started with Acclaim Autism. Why did you start it? And what made patient onboarding a critical challenge for you to solve, and how did you go about solving it, and what was the outcome?
Sure, I started Acclaim Autism. There were very long wait lists for behavioral services throughout the country, and a lot of parents were getting really, really frustrated at waiting months or sometimes years just to access the care that their kids really needed. So I decided to enter the field and do something about it. I was in a related field beforehand. And we started this, and we do provide services throughout our communities and in our clinics. We love what we do, but the patient onboarding time was taking about 6 months. So even once we had staff available, it could take up to 6 months to get somebody started. And that was just completely unacceptable to me. So we started to partner with Appian to find out ways to simplify that process and maybe use AI as well, and we were able to get that 6 months down to about 4 days.
Medhat, how was that possible?
Well, Appian technology enables the coordination of all that it takes to get someone through the door all the way until they receive services. Our data capabilities, our process capabilities, and AI simplify the orchestration of patient intake process, forms, just taking that data in, might be notes as you do interviews, all the way until it's digitized so that the professionals can actually arbitrate what do they need to do in that case, how do they recommend additional services. Appian orchestrates that front door all the way to the back office.
So what did it take? Well, I read that in the notes, from 6 months down to, I mean, just compressed it. That's an astounding acceleration. How long did it take you guys to work together to get to that point where you could achieve that outcome? What did you have to do? What kind of prerequisites were there?
It took a couple of months.
That's it? Wow.
Yeah. So we had to first of all identify the process, digitize the process, which is where Appian came in and really helped us to visualize our data and simplify things. And then we looked at the biggest bottleneck to the process, which was reading all these unstructured clinical documents we were getting from other providers and determining, okay, will these documents meet an insurance company's requirements or won't they? And humans in the past really struggled with that. It was really complex with all the regulations that varied based off where someone lives, what insurance they have, and sometimes they would end up just guessing and sending it off to the insurance company, who would take time to review it, say no, send it back to us. We'd go back to the family and the wheels just kept turning. So we decided to insert AI and to read those documents, and the error rate went down to 5%.
So how did you visualize it? I presume it wasn't a giant whiteboard. You've got tools to help do that. You've got discovery. Can you describe that?
There was an interaction model. I mean, Appian is very familiar with some of these coordination, bounce around problems in the enterprise. A lot of people use emails and spreadsheets and documents and dossier, and remember, like some of these documents, they may have had to do a parent-patient interview on site. The documents are there, but maybe the provider is not available and they have to figure out how to digitize it, maybe scan it and then send it over an email. They're on vacation, that comes back. With a digitized process, there is no loss in translation, there is no drop off in a task. You know how long anything is waiting in a queue? Just that alone, that coordination task gets eliminated through working together what is the critical steps and how to digitize that and who needs to do what, where, and when. So Appian just automatically orchestrates that. And then on top of that, for the unstructured information, when you use AI to extract these notes, case notes, handwriting notes, to get them in this digital format, it enables the process to take it front door all the way to the back end so that you can arbitrate, you can make business decisions, can make recommendations, all in one seamless flow as opposed to the disjointed experience that you have just dealing with Microsoft Word or email.
I mean, healthcare is one of these industries that has been so ripe for transformation for so long. I mean, mobile changed things a little bit, but what are you seeing with AI, how organizations are thinking about transforming healthcare?
Well, everybody wants everything faster, better, and cheaper. And maybe we didn't really talk about this that much, but I'm on the receiving end of the services that Jamie provides. My eldest is actually on a spectrum.
Oh, wow.
So our first intake was 14 months long, and we actually told a story on stage last year. And I know what it takes because like the documents are bouncing around between the parents who are not very educated. And it's the same problem on the business side. Insurance and insurance providers, they're struggling between the providers, the patients themselves, and they want to coordinate that multiplayer problem. So we help them digitize the interaction for the consumer side of things. They have document ingestion problems, we ought to help them with that as well, and you get the orchestration piece and the digitization piece correctly, you cut out a lot of the waste in the middle. All of Appian customers in the healthcare industry have very similar problems just on a document ingestion alone. The digital notes, handwriting notes, lab results, interview questions, just to summarize it.
I mean, what does that mean for a family? I mean, right? I mean, as opposed to describe the before and after for a typical family going through this
We didn't
process.
receive services through them, but I sympathize as a technologist, because I know that my first kid, was diagnosed. It took 14 months just to get the scheduling, to get the information in place, get the interviews. It was very disorienting process. We had to send an email, and someone has to reply back. We have to pick up the phone. When it's digital, you know exactly whether you're waiting on someone or someone is waiting on you. That's a very uncharted territory when you're dealing in the current process that's very chaotic. With my second kid, it was a more digital process. They didn't get diagnosed, luckily. But it was very easy. We knew exactly what we needed to do, how to receive the service, and we started within 3 weeks as opposed to like what took 7 months later. And within four months, he was in of the diagnosis and out of diagnosis. That's a life-changing difference.
Go ahead, Jamie, jump in.
Sorry, what was your question?
Oh.
So what kind of feedback are you getting from patients and families? I'm curious to know sort of what they're telling you.
Well, the intake process, they're absolutely thrilled with it. right? Parents would frequently complain when their child gets diagnosed, they were used to just sitting on wait lists for months or years, waiting for the next available provider, whoever it is. And once they found someone who was a match, then they submit documents and more documents and more documents, and it was just back and forth, and they were very, very frustrated. So now they're just thrilled that they're going from months of onboarding to just a couple days.
Medhat, how does it feel that you're at the forefront of technology that's literally changing people's lives, and you can empathize because you have a child on the spectrum? Talk me through how that feels.
It was very heartwarming. When I learned about Jamie's story and we were helping the teams, I actually worked with our services teams and our technology teams to help them get that technology in place as soon as possible, because I've seen the struggle myself. So knowing that actually what we do changes lives downstream was kind of personal to me. Like, I've seen this, I sympathize with all the parents that are going through the same journey. Now this journey luckily is 9-10 years behind me, but for everybody else that is entering, there's disorientation, you have very little knowledge who to coordinate, and even if you are diagnosed and get provision services, there's still the insurance company that needs certain paperwork completed, which is a process, just to do that. So just smoothing out their services with the parents with the diagnosis with the insurance company just to receive the services, which are expensive. It's just night and day difference when you feel you've made a change, you made a difference.
Jamie, when you take an onboarding from 6 months down to days, you're eliminating a lot of paper cuts for the organization. So, how did you redirect that resource? How are they spending their time? What kind of other value are they able to add to the organization? What have you learned from that whole process?
As an organization, we're absolutely more efficient. We're freeing up our clinicians' time to spend less time on paperwork and administrative burden and really put the focus back on the kids, which is why people get into this field to begin with. So that's what they do every day. And what we've learned is there's other AI use cases that we started to work on. For example, just optimizing our staff schedules, like figuring out how to pair a new patient with a staff member. There's 40 to 50 different variables we look at to determine, will this be a good match? We don't want them driving across the state to go to someone's house. Geography's a factor, clinical fit's a factor. And so now we're using AI to give us options to say, these 5 staff members might be a great fit for this kid. Like, what do you think?
Do you see a point where the AI actually starts developing plans and presenting them and maybe even implementing them?
Well, treatment planning's an ethical line that we don't cross, right? A child's unique and not the aggregate of other kids that fit into an AI model. So there are definitely guardrails in place that we have and hard rules that we won't follow.
And those are very clear in your industry, right? I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Things like HIPAA and so forth.
There's HIPAA regulations, there's ethical guidelines that certification bodies make us follow, and they're there for very good reason. Humans should be determining treatment goals in conjunction with families for these kids.
So Appian software can understand those
100%, because
guardrails,
obviously it's not just about giving organizations the tools to smooth out all the rough edges in the process, handle the coordination tasks like life cycle, also the visibility. How fast am I producing results? How can I effectively distribute my resources and my people and my staff and my expertise to better handle the caseload that comes in, leaving the humans to do the best job they can do without all the toil that comes with the administrative work that is frankly very expensive for organizations to even maintain, when a technology can just handle that effectively and let the expertise in the staff to deal with the actual cases. And for example, one of the things that you touched upon, how did you deploy the staff differently? If they could handle that many cases in a month, cutting it down from 6 months to 4 days, they can handle that many more cases by virtue of deploying resources differently. The number of kids that would be able to receive treatment, not waiting in line, is even greater.
So Jamie, you have the head of engineering at Appian here. So he's obviously got some resources. He's got some juice in the organization. What do you want him to work on?
I would say taking our workforce planning and scheduling to the next level is definitely the next iteration for us. Not just for new patients that come in the door, but we have a workforce of hundreds of people. How do we optimize those schedules to make the most use of our limited clinical resources to make the largest benefit to our patients, and that's kind of the next iteration for us.
Yeah.
So Medhat, how do you tackle that issue?
So we built a brand new capability for agentic reasoning. So the initial AI that Acclaim Autism have used is kind of like the first generation agent capability that can do single step reasoning, do certain things, and it worked really well for them on the intake process. We've built capability and launched it late last year and continue to evolve it. It's one of the major announcements this conference, to do more planning, test breakdown, and that agentic reasoning is going to enable them to do things like, let me try different matrices for the planning of my staff scheduling, and we're going to work hand in hand together to make sure that it actually works very well in their case as well. That agentic reasoning, I think, is going to be a very powerful combination to start doing the higher level thinking process with the right guardrails and boundaries so that they can still apply the ethical guidelines that they need to have.
I want to ask you about security and governance, and I like to say they're two sides of the same coin, but they're different.
They are.
And the standard line is you can't bolt it on. It can't be an afterthought. What does that mean from an engineering perspective? How do you design in security and governance so that your customers can feel safe, secure, and confident?
It's security and governance is a first-class citizen for us because, as you've seen, we handle highly regulated processes across the world, from financial services, healthcare systems, and whatnot. Now, Appian itself, as a first principled approach on security and governance, has certain capabilities. Process itself is a good guardrail for AI not to ever step outside the box you put it in. So if AI is designed, you're just going to extract this part of that information from this page, it can't step outside the box. It may make a mistake inside that box, but it's not going to step outside the box. That's the first layer. The second layer has to do with the data and the data handling. Our data fabric technology is designed to have column level security or low level security so that you can only allow the AI and the humans to see only the data they're meant to see in the moment they need to see it. So if you change the security paradigm in real time, we will compute that and only allow the AI to use that. And that's just the functional layer. Below that, we have all the compliance regimes and security certifications for how we handle sensitive data, how we handle financial data, how we handle healthcare data. And there are guardrails and governance from the product all the way to the last software engineer that is working on a product to cater to the highest regulated environments ever.
So 2 months, you said. Did that include a POC or no?
No.
Okay, so did you do a POC?
I'm sorry. Yes, it
did a POC.
It included a POC, yeah.
And then that took what, weeks?
A couple of weeks, yeah.
A couple of weeks?
Yeah.
And then you implemented, 2 months is amazing, actually, to compress it from 6 months to days. If you had a mulligan, I don't know if you guys golf, I really don't golf, I mean I golf, but I'm bad. If you had a mulligan, what would you do differently?
What do you mean a mulligan?
Like a do-over.
A do-over?
You don't golf?
No, I don't golf. A do-over. I'd probably try and tap Appian for some of the more resources and help us even more than they did. They've been great partners.
You mean the professional services resources?
Well, Appian's internal resources. They've helped us a great deal, and I think having access to people at Medhat's level has been really helpful for us.
Yeah.
Let me ask the question, and either of you can answer it. What's the one thing organizations are getting wrong about digital transformation today? Both of you can hop in and answer.
You want to start?
In terms of what they get wrong about digital transformation?
Yeah.
I think people just try to do too much, whereas you can really just take a process, digitize it, insert AI where it adds some value, and iterate from there and just kind of keep going.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's perfect. Land on it. I'm going to use the golf analogy because I have a perfect slide that has a person that is sputtering and says aim small, miss small. I wish that I want to tell every organization it's important to get started. Don't wait too long. The next step will reveal itself. Take something high value, low complexity, get started, get the motion, get the wheels turning, and then pull on the next thread and the next thread. Don't try to make the perfect the enemy of the good. Visualize the entire process. Just get started, get going, and realize value sooner.
Yeah, it's interesting. Michael Dell gave similar advice. You don't always get the high value advice. A lot of times they say, pick something that's not risky. But Michael Dell said exactly what you said, Medhat, because he said you got to pick something of high value or what are you doing?
That's right, that's right.
Obviously manage the risk, but get started on that, and then you're going to start to see returns faster. You agree? I see you nodding.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, I mean, 6 months to get a patient started while you're holding a staff member's spot on their caseload, you don't get much more high value than that. You're making better use of our staff members. You're getting started with services earlier for kids. So pick that bottleneck and fix it.
Were people reticent at first when you first started this, or were they like, bring it on?
In our field, there's a severe lack of software which helps with operations. So there's no resistance to change whatsoever. Just bring on whatever you have.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, congratulations. I mean, what a story.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
And you're literally impacting lives, which, you know, we think of technology and so many people are scared of AI. And
I think that's what people have to realize when they work with technology, and I urge every technologist, when you're working on technology, just don't think about the feature and functionality that you're building within your respective products. Think about the end game. You're almost always helping somebody achieve certain outcomes for the people that they serve. That's what we're here for. Technology for the sake of technology is not very useful. Technology to better human lives, to better processes, to serve citizens better is the way to go when you think about the mindset you need to have to build those technologies.
I love that. Value. Think about the value.
That's right.
Good advice.
all right, thanks so much for stepping here into theCUBE. Appreciate your time.
Great.
And you're watching theCUBE, the leader in live technology coverage. Thanks for watching.
Really appreciate the incredible coverage theCUBE provides, not just for this show, but for decades. You guys have been with us and helping to educate and inform our customers in the community and really bringing out the great stories.
It's great to be with you guys. This is a tradition. We've done this a lot of years together.
Thank you for covering Discover for so many years.
The CUBE Collective is a community of dynamic, independent thought leaders, industry experts, and professionals from across the enterprise technology landscape. The CUBE has assembled a diverse group of executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators who collaborate to explore, amplify, and discuss emerging trends, innovations, and challenges shaping the future of technology. The goal of the CUBE Collective is to foster knowledge sharing, spark meaningful conversations, and provide actionable insights based on decades of collective experience and data. Together, these experts analyze the most impactful developments at the cutting edge of the tech industry. Join the CUBE Collective as they analyze the shifts transforming and shaping the future of technology. theCUBE, the leading source for technology news and analysis, with exclusive access to the hottest technology events from around the globe. In-depth interviews with industry giants and innovative startups disrupting the landscape. Tune in live or catch the action on demand at thecube.net for current real-time conversations. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise. theCUBE brings you the latest news and trends from the heart of the Silicon Valley. Our experts provide in-depth analysis, interviews with industry leaders, and breaking enterprise technology news. Don't just listen. Join the conversation. Be part of the community. theCUBE, extracting the signal from the noise.
Welcome back to Appian World 26. We are streaming live in Orlando. I'm Allison Cossack alongside Dave Vellante, and things are hopping here at the conference.
Yeah, they are. We're going to lose our voice by day 3.
I know, we're sort of screaming, so if it sounds loud, just bear with us. I want to bring in our next guest, Medhat Galal. He's the Senior Vice President of Engineering at Appian. Welcome to theCUBE.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start talking about the excitement of AI generating code, and you're focused on enterprise-grade systems. What's the gap between code creation and building something that actually runs the business?
Safety and reliability and the results that could be achieved with AI seems to still be elusive. So we build systems that are designed to be reliable and help businesses achieve those results. That's our entire focus. In everything that we build, we think about those two things.
So, you'll love this. I just went to Grok, and I said, Grok, vibe code me a clone of Appian software.
Yeah.
And it wrote all this Python stuff.
Yep.
And I said, will this work? It said, no, not even close.
No, I love that. I mean, there's a huge distance between, I mean, vibe coding is extremely impressive. I tinker with it, and as a recovering vibe coder myself.
Well, first describe what vibe coding is, please.
Well, vibe coding is the essential element of just chatting with AI to build an application, to build a website, to build a small widget, iPhone. You can do really amazing things by just chatting with AI without having the technical grounding or expertise to do it. But that's just the issue.
I'm feeling it. Yeah, that's what vibe coding is.
That's right. It's a lot of vibes.
And then it writes the code. Look, it's amazing how the code it writes.
I know.
Does it work? No, of course it doesn't work. Right?
Even an expert sometimes can be deceived into thinking that that code alone is sufficient to build an enterprise-grade application.
Now, at the same time, if it's used properly, it's going to be incredibly powerful for a developer who knows what they're doing.
In the hands of the right professionals, in the hands and the guardrails of the right software, it's a very, very powerful tool. I had a focus in my master's thesis in AI, and I couldn't have told you 20 years ago like we would be here today. So it's incredibly enlightening to see that we can do this. but it has to be in the right sort of hand people that they understand what could it do and what are the limitations.
Well, that's interesting. You got your master's in
computer science, AI, focus on AI.
Which was kind of during the AI winter, right?
It was.
Right, I mean, so that was fairly prescient of you. So you must be super excited
Very.
to see what's happening now.
Well, tell you the truth, it's not like I had the foresight. I just was a big game geek back in the day, Age of Empires. It allowed you to build AI agents like, oh, that sounds cool, I'm going to do that. Not out of some foresight.
So when the papers came out on transformers and the whole diffusion model thing, were you paying attention, or were you two heads down? I mean, what did you think about that? You were like, wow, finally it's here, or?
I thought it was a good peek into the future, but even back in 2016 and 2018 era, when those technologies and those papers came out, I don't think anybody would have anticipated what would have happened in 2022 and beyond. It was certainly starting to look like it could be very beneficial for business, for commerce sites, recommender systems. It was great, but I don't think anybody saw where we are.
Can we talk about the hype versus the reality? Organizations, they're using Claude to generate apps. Elon is buying Cursor. What are the real benefits, and where does this approach break down in enterprise environments?
The hype versus reality, I mean, Gartner's and Forrester and MIT have all shown research just in 2025 and 2026 that vibe coding and or even spec-driven development, another more constrained way to think about software design, has not yielded any reasonable or tangible results in sophisticated software for the enterprise. They never go to production. It looks great, and then they run into one problem after the other. If they can make it functional, they can't make it secure. When they make it secure and the model changes underneath you, then it changes all over again, and then you're back in maintenance mode. So you end up being a big maintainer of AI systems instead of building the application.
So I kind of took us, off topic with my grok joke, but I'm glad you responded to that. But the whole theme here is moving up the abstraction ladder, which is really interesting. We were talking to Matt earlier just about sort of, Appian's role. So what does that mean? I mean, AI, our whole industry is abstraction layers, from virtualization, cloud, and now AI is allowing us to do things much more simply and much more powerfully. What do you guys mean when you talk about moving up the abstraction ladder?
It's a great question. I love that you asked that question. There is a large distance from just compute and storage, all the way to just writing Java code or Python code that you got from Grok. Now, you still have to put that code together to deal with data, to deal with authentication and authorization, that users can't fake their identities, to make two systems talk together. Integration is another abstraction layer above them. Then you have to go into orchestration and business rules. How do you codify these? Then you have to talk about the user interface. How are you going to build those? All of these are different abstraction layers. In most cases, you can do this with high code that'll take you a very long time, and you'll make a lot of mistakes along the way. Now, Appian has guardrailed that entire process from having the intent and the ability to review. I tend to think these are kind of like the four holdouts for human beings: intent, review, judgment, and taste. Appian is all about those four stages. You can declare the intent, whether it's a UI, a business decision, a workflow, or a data model. We simplify it so that a normal mere mortal can reason about it from first principles very easily. You can review it so you understand it, as opposed to looking long list of Python code that doesn't make any sense. You get to make the decision. You reserve the right as a human being responsible to make a decision, and then you get to add your taste. Organization A is different than B. We live at that layer because everything below that is just toil.
And this is, that sort of conversational capability is relatively new, but the foundation was there. I wonder if you could describe how you built upon that foundation. What did that take? What was the engineering effort to do that?
So Appian has had its greatest foundations in process and data, the two strongest pillars that any organization needs. Everything you do inside an organization, including two people just trying to solve a simple problem, is a process if they have to do it more than once. Now, in order to do that, you need data. So Appian has catered for the last couple of decades. How do we make it easier for people to describe a process visually? They can see it, they can understand it, they can change it, they can describe it, no problem. And then data became the next blocker. For that process to work, you need to see data in motion. So we gave him that data capability. All we did over the last few years, since process can control bots, orchestrate human tasks, orchestrate UI that you get to see, why don't we put AI and agents just in the small box we need it to be? Not we, but the organization. And that's what we did.
Okay, so you didn't have to re-architect the system for AI, but you had to build in, I don't know, they call them harnesses and scaffolding. Can you describe what that's like?
We didn't have to build the core pillars that have been known to be Appian's strong suit in the market for the last couple of decades. We built the AI layer that allow those parts of the system to interact fluidly and fluently with that system, to provide the guardrails, the constraints. You often hear about AI rules and skills. We made it such a fluid system to guardrail AI in the constraint system that we built. So inside of a process, if you have a little box that's supposed to do something, what are the inputs and outputs you need to manage for AI to do the job just in that moment and no more? So we had to build that scaffolding.
There are some concerns that AI can become a kind of rabbit hole, accelerating development, but also accelerating technical debt and IT sprawl. What are your thoughts about that?
I have a lot of strong thoughts about this because as I mentioned earlier, as a recovering vibe coder, I actually like, my wife is like, are you going to stop coding on AI 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
It's a very challenging endeavor. I'm a software engineer by trade, even though I manage a large contingent of Appian engineers. And it's one of the hardest things I had to do. Like, it was very exciting at the very beginning, just seeing something pop on screen very quickly. But I found myself spending more time correcting the mistakes of AI once I got a stable system. Like, to get started, it's amazing. Like, screens flash and things happen. But then the nuance of how rigorous the system needs to be started to have this long tail of problems that I'm spending more time just correcting it all the time. These are the kind of things I wanted to prevent when we build a process and a data system, because I wanted organizations to just don't deal with the data problems, let me just deal with it. One last statement I want to make, one of my favorite t-shirts Appian has ever had is, I write code so you don't have to, because it's really a hard job. AI is just as hard.
So, you guys are supporting MCP. Things happening so fast. You saw the open CLAR, moment. I was reading about Project Conway the other day. I don't know if you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
But so, quite interesting. Anthropic, grabbing its little pieces. What are you doing with MCP? How does that help? Where do you see it going in terms of your architecture?
Again, it may sound cliche, but Appian has always lived, since I joined the company 21 years ago, Appian has lived on certain specific principles and ethics of how to build software to benefit our customers. These principles actually make their way into the architecture, and I promise I have a point to make. Everything we build in Appian is designed to be a good enterprise citizen. I never want to create a walled garden. You want to bring a different system for authentication, I'll allow you to talk to it with ease. Input and output, no problem. You want to integrate with a different system, I'll do that. You want to integrate with a different data system, we do that. We gave AI the same treatment. You want MCPs for your agents to talk to Appian capabilities? We exposed it. That's an announcement we're making this conference. You want other agents to talk to Appian agents? We're going to use agent-to-agent protocol to do the same thing. It's all about openness, it's all about choice.
Okay, well the obvious sort of VC follow-up question is, okay, but how do you protect your IP? What's your moat? What's your value add that you protect? Which, by the way, the entries and exits into your system have to be about choice and openness, but then tell us about how you create that moat, that unique advantage for Appian.
Our unique advantage has been in the data and the process system and the governance and security that we afford to AI that is very hard to replicate. Being open and being protected at the same time are not at odds with each other. So that entire layer of governance, that entire layer of security, that entire layer of orchestration and data is something no one will be able to replicate easily at all. And that's kind of where my agents run. But I will let you interact with my agents, and those agents will use those Appian capabilities in my platform.
So, as we move up the abstraction ladder, you guys talk about orchestration.
Right.
That's kind of the new control plane for your customers? Is that how they should be thinking about it?
That's how they should be thinking about. Ultimately, how humans interact with systems comes down to the few important touch points. Before document extraction required a lot of humans to open a PDF document and open a different screen and then copy and paste, swivel, share. And AI can do that, but the decisioning process of the information on that page will reserve that to the human. So Appian abstracts the toil away without removing the responsibility. I often say, you can't put AI in jail. So we give you that control, we give you that governance to be accountable and responsible while AI takes away the things that prevented you from doing business as fast as you want to.
As a head of engineering, how has AI affected your team? How are you using AI internally to write code, to test code? to ideate? How are you using it, and how has it changed over the last couple of years?
Greatly, and to varying degrees. So the early adopters were vibe coders. So I was like, oh my God, I can build a screen. I don't have to talk to engineering anymore. Like product managers specifically, it's like, oh, I can build the whole thing. And then they come to grips with the reality of what I found out 4 months later. But it helped in that regard because they can figure out how to build the right product, which is an immense responsibility for product managers. So we love the fact that our product managers can now just think about an idea and immediately, without having to coordinate with capacity or people, I can just build it. It's not important, it's just throw away a prototype. I can just visualize the right product I need to build for my customers. They can do 15 prototypes in the same window that it would take us, I don't know, 2 months. For our typical engineers, things that took them time, industrialized code reviews, industrialized quality assurance, we can bring AI in that moment to help them do the things like writing the Python code, which they can read in the small or in the large. It allowed our engineers to experiment with areas of infrastructure that they didn't really, it's not really that important for them to do, but AI can do really, really well. So it changed all of these. It's also changing the culture.
So does the PRD become a vibe-coded prototype?
Up to a point, until you have to ship it. Then we have to put our engineering weight and our rigor into it.
But the requirements, Doc,
100%.
now becomes
it becomes a source of truth.
A demo, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the product manager can say, I don't like this workflow or the way it works, so let me just change this, change that.
It became cheap to think about an idea, as opposed to let's spend meetings and time thinking about which idea should we carry forward, because the expense is so great. With the ability to build prototypes very quickly, the cost of software nearly became zero. You've just enabled a whole bunch of people that otherwise have to say, I got 100 ideas, I got to pick one. Now you can pick all 100.
How does it, and if so, how does it change the type of technical talent that you want on your team? Are you looking for different skill sets? Are you asking your team to sort of rethink what they get good at? How do you think about that?
So the latter. I feel I have a responsibility as a manager of managers of people, is that I got to protect them from what's to come, because I feel like it's a huge wave. Actually, Matt, our CEO, said that phrase eloquently, is like, when a typhoon comes, you want to be behind the wave, not on the shore. So I am working with my engineers to prepare them in that regard. It's like, don't think about what your job is, just think about what it could possibly be, and adapt, because AI is not going to replace humans, still have to have taste. It's going to replace the person who's not using it effectively. So there's a bit of a mindset change and a lot of risk taking to do experimentation. I'm just encouraging that there are no wrong here. Since we're not shipping that software, just keep iterating. You'll find the next best thing to do, but don't think about your role today. I'm a software engineer, that's all I do. It's okay to have a product mindset as an engineer, do that. A product manager, it's okay to play a little bit of an engineer, do that. The lines are blurred, and that's what I'm encouraging.
I think that's the right way to look at it, Allison. AI is not going to replace your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI is the one who's going to replace your job.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks so much for coming on theCUBE and talking about this great topic.
It was a
we
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, great kickoff for CUBE After Dark, Allison.
Really
great working with you tonight. Look forward to the next
Same
2
here.
days.
Absolutely, and it's really getting started here. You've been watching theCUBE, the leader in live technology coverage. Thanks for watching.